This is the magicwordpodcast.com.
Well, good morning. It is the third and final day of the Magic at the Beach convention here in Myrtle Beach, and we're here pretty early. And the theater is quiet and dark, and before things start to get busy and people start to fill all these seats, thought I'd kind of recap a little bit of what happened last evening. And I've got with me Jafo, who is also a lecturer, performer, and kind of done a little bit of everything. Here he is now. Hey, Jafo, how are you, man?
Hey, Scott. Nice to be here. Thanks for having me on.
And the last time I think that I saw you, weren't you at the Winter Carnival of Magic? Or where was that? You were here last year then, or?
Oh, this is my first year at this convention, Magic on the Beach. I was invited to the Winter Carnival that was earlier in March this year in Pigeon Forge, and it was a great experience. Had a lot of fun.
That's
there.
right. I think I saw you. It was at the Winter Carnival.
Yeah, we had a little chat there, and I've met you at 4F a few times.
Yeah, right. Of course, this is a little bit different kind of a convention. By the way, before we go too much further, I happened to mention in my pod letter about how that I was going to a, quote, smaller convention. And, of course, what I meant by that was in terms of size. I just come from Magic Live. It had 1,600 people, and I was at Magic Texas. It had about 700 people. And I'm coming to this one that has a little bit less than 100, basically. Well, I was... This is strange. So I was in the men's room yesterday, and there was a guy who was walking by me, said hello, and went into the stall, and he closed the door, and he continued talking with me, and was saying, I got your pod letter, and this is really not a small convention. I said, well, then I told him what I just said. Yeah. And he said, but it's not small in terms of the kind of talent and everything else that's happening and the types of events. It's not a small convention. I said, well, I didn't mean to disparage that way, but I just want to clarify that. I mean, so for people who might think...
I'll tell you what I was surprised with was like how much they give to the guests here. Like I was surprised.
Oh my gosh.
Like they give us dinner on the first night, and they have like a special party upstairs.
Open
bar. Open bar. Like I don't know any other convention where they just give you free food and alcohol for the money that you pay. So that blew me away.
Plus a swag bag. It's got all kinds of stuff in it then as well.
I haven't even seen the swag bag.
Well, I haven't gotten one yet either. But because I'm part of a little bit. Yeah.
I mean, like I figure as a performer, I shouldn't get a swag bag.
Right, and that's kind of what I thought too.
What I'm getting, so yeah,
but
I'd like to see what's in
that's
it.
one of the things that is kind of popular. And in fact, I'm going to ask Jerry what's in that.
I know Steve's not going to be here.
So I'm going to ask Gerry Thompson, who's one of the organizers right here, and he might have an idea. Hey, Jerry.
Hey, Scott.
Good morning.
Good morning. It's been crazy. Yeah, I did stuff those bags. So there's two different versions. So let's start with the first version I know it has a close-up pad in it. I know it has there's 5 different...
This is a VIP thing?
No, this is just a regular bag. So there's 2 bags. If you register early... At a certain point, you get a VIP bag. And so that's the only difference. But one has 6 items in it, and the other one has 12. But the regular bag, if you didn't register early, it has a close-up pad. It has a limited edition booklet that has all the professional performers' tricks and gifts of how to do business in magic, all in a book.
Manuscripts and things.
Yes, thank you. Then there is there's a series of puzzles. There are 5 different puzzles. They're metal puzzles like keys that unlock or a lock that you have to learn how to pick to open. And we wanted everyone to trade those. If, like, for instance, if you open your puzzle and you go, you know what, I'll try another one, you could go to somebody and say, hey, which one you've got? So that was kind of a cool thing. We have a chain decapitator, which is, what is the rope through the neck trick?
It's just rope through neck.
Rope through neck. Well, we have one that one of our local magicians came up with where it's a chain and these 2 balls, so it makes it a little more skin in the game. Very similar premise, but it's called the chain decapitator. That's in there. So there's 2 more items. Let me think.
Is there a deck of cards or something in there?
Not for the regular. Scott, I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank.
You can come back on this.
Yeah, and then let's go to the early register bag. That has either a coin book or a mentalism book by Animan is his name. It has a deck of cards and a card guard. It has, I am drawing a blank, Scott.
Just some cool stuff.
Point is, there's 12 items, yes, and it's heavy. There's a ton of magic in there.
Well, that's my thank you, Jerry.
Sorry,
that's okay. No, we were just talking about some of the cool stuff that you're going to be getting like at the convention. So it's not really a small convention from the standpoint of the kind of quality that's here. Just small from the standpoint of the number of people.
Yeah, a lot of attention to detail, a lot of fun little details in place that you wouldn't get even at a larger convention.
Right. Well, we talked. I think we concluded last evening's podcast talking with Steve Beam, and we had just mentioned how that Paul Stone had given a lecture on Ken Brook, and that was very interesting. I love history, and he knew Ken very well, and so it was a good presentation. And then after dinner, and then after I had put the podcast to bed because we had an hour's worth of material there last night, then we had the evening show, and Chris Blackmore was the host of the show.
Yeah, Chris Blackmore. I've never met Chris. I didn't know much about Chris. The convention has basically 3 shows. You have a close-up show. Then this is more like a parlor type show, and then tonight will be this big stage show. But Chris opened up the close-up show, and I was absolutely surprised and blown away by how funny he was. Like, he had complete control and mastery of the audience. His crowd work was phenomenal. It was just a joy to watch him work.
Well, he was one of the regular performers at Warren and Annabelle's over in Lanai in Maui for a number of years before that closed. So, and he's performed on cruise ships and everywhere else. And very funny guy, as you said.
Oh yeah, it was phenomenal.
And then next we had on, who was that?
Oh, James Brandon. James Brandon came out, did some dove work, and I think they're actually like, huh?
I was going to say, he had a guy from the audience also. He did that magician, where he had the costume, with his arms in it.
Yeah, it was like the instant magician type routine, but it was almost like, for that kind of routine, you can play it straight where you have the guy doing actual magic tricks, but he had a lot of fun visual gags along the way and very little actual, like, quote-unquote magic, which was part of the whole shtick he was doing. It was really well done. But the thing is, like, I don't think those were like little doves or some kind of pigeon he talked about, but they're massive. They're like twice, 3 times the size of an actual dove. So when these things come into view, you're like, there's no way he could have had those hidden away.
It was about the size of a rabbit. It was huge.
They were massive. And it had like a couple of those, and it was really good.
And then he ended up using Steve Beam as his volunteer for a head chopper, for the guillotine.
Yeah, and it was, I don't know to what degree, like, Steve Beam already had some bits in mind, but he kind of played into it beautifully, so the chemistry was phenomenal. He's like a real deadpan kind of performer anyway, so it kind of added to that.
Yeah. And then following him was...
Well, I was going to say real quickly, though, that he had a real nice emotional finish to the routine. His whole set had a nice emotional finish to it, which I thought... kind of set things off nicely. It was really nice.
So you get to know a little bit about his personality and everything then, too. Yes. And also we had Eric Paul, who was not on the printed bulletin.
Yeah, Eric Hall, I met him. He, apparently in his regular waking life, he is a teacher or an instructor, and he does like costume design, costume design. And... interesting fellow. He's knowledgeable about a lot of things, but he had a lot of fun, hilarious bits with these sort of like mock-up books that he made. Like, he took popular books that you and I would recognize immediately and like changed the titles and headings and words to make it into like a whole joke. And a whole series of these were just beautifully done.
Yeah,
hilarious.
Very nice. And then also we had, who was it next?
Well, we had Dave Risley.
Dave Risley, that's right.
Yeah, Dave Risley had some... I guess he does like mostly like children's shows, does he? Yeah. And he had like some fun, I would call them almost like MC bits, right? So like you have like these funny headlines he was showing.
Well, they were signs, like he had said they were like along the road when he was like traveling through New Jersey or something.
Yeah, so he saw like some funny signs. He had them printed up, and he was kind of going through them and making funny remarks on each one, and that played it pretty nicely, I thought. But I can see that being like a really good MC bit as well.
Right. But the closing for the evening with Charles Peacock doing his juggling just brought down the house. I mean, actually brought everybody to their feet, I should say.
See, I live in Orlando, and Charles lives like in downtown Orlando. So I've been to his house and hung out, and he showed me all the new stuff he was working on. We had a great chat about. He's a huge geek like I am, a huge nerd.
Well, he's the one that created audio aid.
Yeah, so we love talking like nerd shop, right? So we spent most of the evening doing that. And I've never actually seen him juggle before. I've known the guy for years. I've never seen him juggle.
Did you ever see him on AGT when he was going through and moving on up closer to being a finalist? No?
I have a confession. I've never actually watched a full episod of AGT.
Okay, well, good for you. I know you're busy watching the Kardashians, aren't you?
Oh, yeah. Exactly. Shh, don't tell anybody. Wait, is this live? And no, but I was stunned. I was absolutely stunned. Like, it's not just that he can, keep the things in the air, but also like he has a bit of like style with it. He has a fun bit of flair with each thing. Mm-hmm. He adds a bit of element of dance to it, and of course to technology and doing incredible visual things that you don't even think are possible, which aren't really possible with normal juggling props.
Right. Yeah, it was incredible. And so that concluded that, and then we went into Tales from the Road, which we did last year for the first time, and it was really a lot of fun, and I recorded all of that, so that's going to be on a future episode that you can hear that 1 hour, and essentially all of the performers who were here were, and I say here because Losander hasn't shown up yet as of last night, nor Greg Gleason, but the rest of the guys, yourself and others, then kind of told different stories from the road.
Well, the fun part was, like, I didn't hear about this. I didn't know about
it. Was a surprise.
Yeah, it was a surprise. So I was backstage getting my stuff packed up, and I'm like, hey, who's in this panel for Tales from the Road? And they're like, oh, well, you. I'm like, what? Well, I don't have any stories. I'm not really much on the road. I have a place in...
You're a 40-miler, would you say?
Yeah, like I've performed in Orlando and Kissimmee for the past 2 decades. I do shows on the weekend in St. Augustine. I do a few little outside gigs where I fly out to, conventions and what. So I don't have a lot of like stories, but maybe I don't know. So I had to kind of really rack my brain before the things got going. But it was fun listening to the stories, especially Paul Stone.
Yeah, Paul Stone. Right.
Paul Stone. He's done it all. Like he's done it all. He knows everyone. He's
best friends with Siegfried and Roy.
Yeah, he's done everything in London, the Palladium. He's produced shows. He's produced everyone. And I could just listen to him all day.
I could too.
To him all day.
Somebody would just start to name something. He said, "Oh, that does remind me. Yeah, I did this with John Calvert. Oh, yeah, that Hans Moretti. Or yes, well, whatever. I mean, you just name something. He takes off on a great topic.
It was great. Yeah. I love it.
So that was a great evening. And then the evening we had the Carnival of Horrors, I guess, upstairs at the open bar.
Yeah, so they have a little place upstairs, like where the balcony is, and of all the little spooky decor. And I'm not sure exactly who was involved in putting it together, but it was fun. It was really cool. I loved all the different animatronics they had, and all the eyeballs and various body parts that were just strewn about.
Yeah, so that was a lot of fun. Kind of closed out the evening, and about 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock kind of shut things down and headed back to bed, and then we got up early again to get the day started for today.
Yeah, I didn't probably get to bed till I think like 2 a.m., but then I used my extraordinary power of not being able to sleep in order to get up early today and have some delicious waffles, and here we are.
Yeah, because now you're a waffle king, right? You say you know how to make waffles.
I've mastered the hotel waffle maker. I feel like it's such freedom. Guys, such freedom. Go to a hotel, learn how to use it. It'll change your life.
So for the Magic Word Podcast, we're looking forward to a great day. That was Jafo. Scotty out. We just finished the first event of the day, which actually started at 10 o'clock, which gave everybody a delightful opportunity to go over to the dealer's room a little bit. I think maybe the dealers didn't open until 10 also, but at least to sleep in for most people. So, because it was kind of a late night last night, and I anticipate tonight to be the same, but the lecture again by Greg Gleason was great. He just got here on a cruise ship, just got off a cruise ship, late last evening and came straight here, but they apparently lost his luggage. And so a lot of the stuff he was planning on selling at the lecture was not there with him, but hopefully will be arriving later today. But I've got with me now one of the guys who had lectured not once but twice and has completely different lectures, and that's Paul Stone. Hey, Paul, how are you, man?
I'm good, Scott. Nice to see you.
You enjoying the convention?
It's absolutely fantastic. I really love these small conventions.
I was about to ask, you go to a lot of conventions, so how is this in comparison? What do you think?
These are my favorites, I have to be. I've never been to Myrtle Beach before either, so it's a whole different world. But no, it's cool, because I know a lot of the people, and Charles Bach, who organized it, I got back a long way with. But I just think the small intimate conventions, for me, I enjoy them much more now.
It is a lot of fun. You get to spend a lot more quality time with people as opposed to, say, Magic Live, where it's like, hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? You can't really spend any time with anybody But here we do have an opportunity to kind of sit down like we are now and having lunch and getting a chance to chat. So it is a lot of fun, and it's a more laid back kind of a thing. And there are not so many activities that are backed up to each other too, you know?
Yeah, no, I think, I mean, to me, it's about people. It always is about people. I mean, there's some good performers here, obviously, but it is more about meeting friends and stuff. But actually, for a small convention, the talent here is pretty amazing.
It really is. I was about to say that same thing for the size that it is. But again, Charles has got a lot of good friends who are great performers. I tell you, Charles Peacock, who is the juggler, just knocked me out. I mean, I've seen jugglers, but not like Charles Peacock. Amazing.
Yeah, well, he reminds me a little of Anthony Gatto. I mean, different style, but in the same intensity. I mean, his skill level is off the chart. Yeah.
Yeah, I know, because you've seen them all. Because you produce a lot of shows and you probably work with a lot. You've worked with Anthony Gatto, I guess.
Oh yeah, well, Anthony Gatto, Chris Cremo, obviously Wally Eastwood. I mean, you know, this guy is he's more, I must say, a technically brilliant juggler. He doesn't have the same comedy element, but his skill set is just unbelievable. I mean, he really is, and he didn't drop a thing, did he?
No,
you know, not one thing. You
No.
know, and I saw his full show earlier this week when I came in early, and his full show is amazing. And even the video clips from when he was on America's Got Talent, I mean, he went to some trouble to do that. I mean, the sets and things he did there were outstanding. Yeah, and he takes the whole thing to another level, to be honest.
Yeah, it's really amazing. Well, your lectures yesterday were great. You first of all talked about Siegfried and Roy, the presentation and the videos that you showed added a lot to it. And then next you talked about Ken Brooks, same thing there, seeing a vintage Paul Daniels working on Shirley Bassey's show. That was just a lot of fun. Now, you were telling me yesterday when you work on cruises, you have like 6 different lectures that you give.
Yeah,
Tell me about that.
Well, I do, a bit like Greg, in a sense, I don't do the magic, so I do a memory lecture, which is helping people with their everyday memory frustrations, but it's just some ideas that I have. It's not a Harry Lorraine type style, it's some other more, I wouldn't say more practical, but just not as intense. But
and you got a book also on that.
I have a book on that, yeah, which is because my thing is Mind Sharp. So it's Mind Sharp for memory. I have another couple of books, Mind Sharp books. And the idea is it's aimed at a slightly older demographic to help people keep their mind sharp and their brains active, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I have a talk, obviously, which is called Beyond Belief, which is all about Siegfried and Roy, talking about their whole life. It's really a rags to riches story, and it tells the whole story, how they started out, how they changed the face of Vegas, obviously the accident a little bit, and then afterwards taking them to the London Palladium and doing a special tribute show. And I have another talk, I'm from Liverpool, so I do a talk called I Grew Up with the Beatles. And I actually did grow up like a mile away from where John Lennon and Paul McCartney met, and where Eleanor Rigby's grave is, and 5 minutes from Penny Lane and the Strawberry Fields. And as you know,
and your sister working at the Cavern, is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I actually went down to the Cavern, when I was young as well. So, I actually saw them play. So, but yeah, and so for me, Liverpool was a big part of my life. So, that's an interesting talk, and I can say it from a personal point of view.
Sure.
I do another talk called The Greatest Theatre in the World, which is the London Palladium, world famous variety theatre, where I tell about a lot of the stars that work there, but also having produced over 25 shows there, what it takes to produce a show, particularly a one-day show, what goes into it and what has. So that's quite interesting.
The Queen doesn't go to all the shows, does
No,
she?
Not anymore.
Well,
that's for sure.
Well, wait a minute. Charles has got a Queen.
Yeah, well, that's a whole nother. I don't know. Anyway, I'm not going to get into that. I can't call her the Queen because it's very hard for me to do that. I'm afraid.
So, yeah.
But no, so I do that, which is interesting, obviously, because the Palladium is over 100 years old. So has a great history, and anybody in show business has played it, obviously. So that's fun. So it's always special for me whenever I walk in that place. It's like, one of those very special theaters, So
I thought it was great. You were telling yesterday about John Calvert.
Yeah, well, obviously, as people might know, I took John Calvert there when he was 100 years old in the 100th year of the Palladium. So, it was a challenge in many ways, but again, the history books will always show that John Calvert played the Palladium and actually did trick on stage at the Palladium when he was 100 years old in the 100th year of the Palladium. How can you beat that?
That's great. Right.
So that was cool.
So what else do you lecture on?
God, what else do I talk about? Oh, I do another one, which is called, the laughter, what's it called? The laughter effect. That's right. It's called the ultimate feel good factor. It's about how laughing actually can help you feel better, look better, and live longer. And it links in with another thing that I have, which is the acts of kindness thing I do, which is called the AOK Revolution. And it's again, same thing about how doing one act of kindness a day can help people live longer and feel better and stuff. So I've always been involved in charity stuff. So I like to be able to give back. So it's involved with that, but it's fun, and I make it fun.
You're still involved with Magic Cares? Is that still an ongoing thing?
Well, Magic Cares, as I say, it was a charity. It was a 501c3 for a while, and Siegfried and Roy and Lynette were the patrons of it. But we helped a couple of young kids, who were terminally ill kids. But it was difficult to run a 501c3, so it went on the back burner. But I'm just sort of launching it again, not as a 501c3, but just to get the word out, because the slogan for Magic Cares was when Magic Cares, miracles happen, because I really believe that magic can actually, give a little touch of magic into people's lives. So, I mentioned it here because, and Siegfried and Roy were very much behind it. So it's, I just think we should try and give back, and magic has a way of being able to do that, doesn't it,
Now, the Jungle Palace where Siegfried and Roy lived, are you involved with any of that?
Yeah, well, I am. Basically,
since the place sold?
Yeah, well, basically it was bought by a gentleman called George Carden from the International Circus, and his wife was cousin of Wally Eastwood, who's the juggler who's the host of the ultimate variety show in Las Vegas. And George bought it, and in fairness to him, he's been trying very hard to bring it back, because obviously the Jungle Palace was empty for 15 years after the accident, and he's bought a lot of the original stuff back in the house, spent a fortune on bringing the outside of the house back up to scratch, and they're just trying to get permits and licenses to be able to do some sort of events at the place. It looks magnificent, but it's in a residential area, so it has certain issues with that, and they're very tough in Las Vegas about giving licenses and permits. But they're working on it. They're working really hard on it. They spent a lot of money on it, and in fairness to George, he's trying to preserve the Siegfried and Roy's legacy, which is really good, because
that's important.
Certain other people aren't doing that. So
what did they do with that? It looked like a bronze statue, but I guess it wasn't really. That was out in front of the mirage.
What's happened with that is that's actually going to go to the to the Neon Museum. The Neon Museum is in the process of moving. They bought some new premises downtown. And if you've been downtown in Vegas, everybody knows it just from Fremont Street, but it's actually a really nice arts district now.
Correct. Yes.
And they just bought 2 new premises, and they're going to move all their stuff there, which would be much nicer. And I believe that Siegfried and Roy statue is going to be cleaned up a bit and put there, which would be great.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, it wasn't the most attractive thing in the world, but it certainly made a statement. It certainly showed you at the time just what impact Siegfried and Roy had on
there
Vegas.
on the strip.
Yeah, on the strip right there.
Well, there's so much more we could talk about, and we have. If we go back, I think people go back into the archives, they can find where you and I talked a couple of years ago in more detail. Well, Paul, good to see you here. Glad you're enjoying the convention.
I mean, it's really nice to see you here as well, and it's nice to be able to spend a little bit of quality time. So.
Absolutely, for the Magic Word Podcast. That's Paul Stone. Scotty out. Well, we just finished lunch there with Paul Stone, and back at the theater, and getting ready to watch the lecture that'll soon be given on children's magic, believe it or not, by Dan Sperry. I can't wait to see this. It's going to be great. I just don't see him or think of him necessarily when it comes to mind, or I should say his name does not come to mind about booking children's shows, but anxious to hear what he has to say. I think it's going to be fun and funny. But I've got with me right now a fellow who is actually teaches in the theater school, right? Mm-hmm. Eric Hall. And how long have you been coming? Well, first of all, hello, Eric.
Hello.
So how long have you been coming to the convention here? I mean, is this your first?
It's not my first one. I've been to the one in 2010. I think the first one that they had I was at, and I helped them, did an escape show at one of those. But yeah, I've been here. I've lived here for 20 years, so I've been involved in a lot of the magic stuff that's been going on.
And you teach theater, or what?
I'm in the theater department. I teach costume design.
Okay.
And that's at Coastal Carolina University in Conway, South Carolina.
And that's something I think all magicians should learn, how to use a needle and a thread, for sure.
Oh, yeah. I do stuff all the time with that, and I've been sewing. It comes easy to me because I've been doing it for 30 years, but sewing things, making things, I love making things, and it served me well to be able to whip up a zombie cloth if you need.
Have you worked with other magicians and helping them to create costumes?
Yeah, I'm working with Charles Bach right now here in the Wonders Theater and helping them with some of the costumes and props for the upcoming Halloween show.
Well, that's great because the costumes and everything he and his assistants have right now are just spectacular, and it is Las Vegas glitz. It's perfect for what he does here.
Yeah, for sure. And so we were working on some Halloween themed costumes,
right.
And then I'm also helping him build a ghost puppet that's going to fly over the audience.
Oh, how cool is that?
Giant in the classic spook show tradition.
Right.
So that's been fun to make and experiment with.
Is this his first year of doing a Halloween type of extravaganza, or
yes.
I think he's done Christmas things, but I don't think he's done Halloween things here, has he?
That's true. He has a Christmas show, but this is the first Halloween show. It's going to run all month in October, and he said, if it works out, you can do it again next year.
Yeah, that's great. Now, what have you enjoyed so far at the convention? What have you seen or done or experienced or people you met, aside from me? What have you enjoyed?
Well, it was great to connect with you, and I love taking fake anime pictures. That was a lot of fun. You can check out his Facebook page if you want to see.
Please
do. Put your vote in if I really look like him. But I've had a lot of fun meeting and reconnecting with a lot of the magicians in this area because it's a strong sort of regional convention. We get a lot of people coming from North Carolina and people we know from Charleston, and the talent is great. I'm always energized to see new ideas and performances. And one of my favorite performers, I think, from the convention is Chris Blackmore.
Blackmore, very funny guy.
Very funny guy, and I didn't know who he was before this, but really fun to watch. Really fun to watch.
Well, that is one of the things. I think when you attend a convention, you are surprised. That's what I think is the mark of a good convention. There's someone's like, I didn't know who this person was. I mean, I didn't know Chris Peacock. At all, or to begin with, Charles Peacock, sorry, and until I saw him performing and juggling. Oh my gosh, what a nice guy!
Yeah, that was fantastic juggling.
Yeah,
really cool to see that.
So it was a great. It's been a good convention so far. This is the last day, and we're still got some more things to do yet this afternoon, and then this evening a big gala party and everything. It's in a show as well. So looking forward to all that then coming up as well. So what's your next convention you're planning on attending, or you just go to this one only?
Well, I don't have any plans, but I haven't been to a magic convention other than the ones that we've had here. Interestingly enough, I think it'd be fun to go to Blackpool. I've heard that's just like I would probably get overloaded with excitement there, but yeah.
Think about how much it's going to cost you to get there and then stay, and then double that amount because that's how much you're going to spend or more in the dealer's room.
Yeah. Flying back on the plane with a bunch of smoke gimmicks.
Carry an empty suitcase with you that you're going to... Exactly. Well, Eric, very good. Good to talk with you.
Yes.
And I hope you have a great time.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, the Magic Word Podcast. That was Eric Hall. Scotty out. We're in the dealer's room right now, which is why you hear the cacophony behind us over here going on. We finally got a pretty full dealer's room. I've been in here a time or two.
Behind us?
What's that?
What is it behind us?
A cacophony.
Oh.
You can hear the cacophony,
okay.
of just...
I thought it was just noise.
And I have with me now Marv Leventhal. Hey, Marv.
Hi there, Scott.
That's it.
I'm getting older now.
Well, then you can't read the name. You're not a reader anymore.
Yeah, there's one bad thing about getting older. Never mind. I'm so old now. I went to an antique auction last week, and 3 people bid on me.
So,
all right, what do you want to know?
So that's the kind of thing we could expect, I guess, over here. So that's what you've been doing since you're no longer doing the Minotaur, you and Dan.
That's correct.
Right. So I was chatting with someone for an upcoming episode of the podcast, so I missed Los Sanders' lecture. But prior to that, we had a lecture that was by Dan Sperry, who was talking about kid show magic, and so I just never equate the two, but apparently he does a lot of kid shows.
Yes, he actually talked about how he originally he started as a kid show magician, but he wanted to distinguish himself from other kid show magicians.
Right.
Now, he showed us some of the things he did. I wanted to ask him, how do you ever get
a second booking
rehired after? Because the first thing he does is a trick with a bag of those trolley gummy worms.
Worms, right?
It's got a little window in it, and then he looks like he's pouring them out, out of the bag
because they disappear from that little window.
Yeah. And he says he'll pour those into the little girl's hands because he has a bag inside with real worms.
So he dumps real worms into her hand.
Real worms into her hand, and that's hilarious. I'm sure it is.
And then when he's producing a dove, then also he does some things with the dove, including like, where you have that old gag of your snapping your fingers, where you snap your fingers like you break it.
Breaking her neck, breaking its neck, he eats its head.
Eating his head, yeah. I saw one person walk out. I know this lady is a clown, and she's like, oh, this is not for me. I could tell. It's like, okay, not for everybody.
Well, I mean, it was a hilarious lecture.
It was very funny.
Yes. My wife Denise is here with me. She's not a magician in any way, shape, or form, and she loves Dan Sperry. We're Dan Sperry groupies. I didn't know if you knew that.
I didn't know that.
We're actually stalking him. We're going from here next week to the convention in Dallas. You know the name of it. I can never
I can't either. The Nausatorium.
Magistorium or something like that.
Magistorium or something.
Yeah. And he's going to be there.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah,
of course.
And then after that, when we get home, he's going to appear in Erie, Pennsylvania at Keller's Magic and Comedy Club.
Well, you are a serious stalker. That's
we are going to go there to see him again. And we saw him last year at Keller's. But my wife loves him. She likes that geeky stuff. But she goes, that lecture was everything I expected and more. She goes.
So, what about then Losander, who followed at that?
I don't know what my expectations were for Losander. I really only know him for levitating the table. I haven't seen him do a whole lot of other things. But I did enjoy his ring routine rope routine.
Right.
Nothing that special in terms of mechanics, but he did have some nice presentation for Professor's Nightmare. And I'll jump to the third phase. He did a cut and restored rope routine that was very nice. But in the middle, you could talk about, the Hindu rope trick and a kid climbing to the top, whatever. He takes a rope and essentially coils it in a circle on his palm, and one end of the rope will point upward, and it acts just like a snake. It'll go up and down a little bit. And the cool part is, after that, he just tosses it on the floor. He tosses it on the floor, and it still stays, extended. And then at the end, he goes, bang, and the rope drops to the floor. Yeah, so a very nice routine, and that's the middle third of his 3-part rope routine.
Right. I had heard someone earlier as I was walking over here saying, I said, how'd you like a lecture? He said, I think Losander was the best lecture I've heard here all weekend.
Well,
everyone has their own opinion, I know.
I know, because, I'll go on about Losander in a sec, but I went here last year. I came to this convention last year, and I thought it was a fabulous convention. It was comparable probably to everything but something like Magic Live, something that, elaborate.
Right, but with fewer people in attendance, but still it was a grand scale.
Oh, here, last year they had Dana Harlan and Steve Beam and Kerry Pollack, and it was just a dynamite convention.
Greg Fruin,
Yeah, Greg Fruin.
Chip Romero. Yeah.
It was just a great convention, and I just, gushed over it, telling other people, I said, you really ought to come. There's one other couple that came from the Cleveland area down this year at my recommendation. But I go, in my mind, I was going, man, they're going to have to do a lot to have a better convention than last year. And so far, I think the first night there was a close-up show, and then there was a stage show yesterday. And in my mind, those shows were the equivalent or better than anything. I wasn't at Tacoma last year, but I think it surpasses what I've seen at Pittsburgh, which is the previous IDM convention. And there are not a lot of common names that I think even the average magician might know. I don't know how many are familiar with Dan Sperry, but I mean, like I said, just seeing his name on the schedule as a kid show lecture, I go, well, that ought to be interesting. What else does he do?
So you think this is as good or better than last year's convention?
I do. I actually do. I thought that after the first night show. I think every lecture has been excellent.
Yeah.
And Losander really did an excellent job. He did a lot of his bubble stuff.
Right.
I don't remember if he's the one that blows smoke into them sometimes.
He does.
He does.
Yeah,
Well,
Finn John used to do that.
I'm just saying, he didn't do any of that. But he did kind of a standalone type of thing you could just do with a bubble. You know, he blows 3 bubbles in this lecture. That's a total of 3.
Okay.
And he does something with each of them. You know, he'll make one move. The last one he'll actually... Well, the first one he'll make it go through a loop.
Right.
Again, in the last part, he twirls a linking ring size ring around it in both directions. It doesn't have a gap or anything, but he'll twirl it, holding it at the top and bottom vertically, and then he'll twirl it from the sides horizontally.
Right.
And it just looks like, I mean, it's a bubble floating there. I mean, I don't know about magicians. I think we know how that bubble stuff kind of works, even if we don't know the exact mechanics. But I think that would blow any layperson out of the water.
Well, all the lectures, seems like, after they're finished, have had brisk sales. I mean, people were lined up for Losander, they were lined up for Dan Sperry, and also we had Greg Gleason. People were lined up. That was a really good court card.
Oh, yes. He was terrific. Somebody lost their luggage.
He lost his luggage.
Oh,
yeah.
he
just came from
luggage.
the ship, and they'd lost his luggage. Right.
Yeah, so...
He didn't have a lot to sell.
I'm waiting for his stuff. The thing he had... First of all, there's a lot of stuff I got here this time, and I'll talk about the dealer's room in a moment. But Greg Gleason, since I am kind of becoming more of a mentalist, he asked my wife in the course of his patter to name any state.
Right.
And the deck of cards was already out on the table, and he pulled it out and showed he had a deck of cards with all the states on them. But there was one state reversed. And when he took that out, it was the state, she said, Arkansas.
You left out the most important part.
What?
It was invisible deck.
Oh, was it? Yeah, he made me...
Yeah, he pretended it. I mean, you gave it to you. You pretended to spread it out. She pretended to take out a card.
But he gave me crap because I didn't hear him ask her. And I went to take a card out, and I heard about that from my wife all night. You know, and I said, you know, you got to do this. And she goes, you couldn't follow his instructions. Why am I going to listen to you?
But I thought that was a brilliant idea. Again,
it was a brilliant idea, and in fact, that's the deck I plan on purchasing.
Yeah, because you're thinking about 52 cards or 50 states,
Right.
and people can relate to the states rather than a card.
Right.
I think and they can name a state. I think it's great. Yeah.
And I just think so far the evening shows have been, I mean, they're so good that I wonder what they can do to make the next show Even better.
Yeah, well,
really.
looks like you got a pretty good lineup tonight. Obviously with Losander and with Dan Sperry, and they're going to be having. I'm not sure who's going to be emceeing tonight's show.
You know what? I don't know.
I don't either. But anyhow, so
what's
far,
the one guy? I can't think of his name. He emceed the show last night. I had never.
That was
heard
Chris
of him.
Blackmore.
Oh man, he is so hysterical. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
It shows how many shows he says he's done. Because whether he's doing stuff impromptu or not, he's got a line for everything. Nothing seems forced. Everything seems very spontaneous.
Right.
And then the last thing I wanted to talk about a little bit was the dealer's room. Last year, I think that was the weak point of the convention.
Right.
I took one walk around in the dealer's room, and I never came back.
I didn't either. It was kind of weak, but I tell you, it is thriving, and they've got the international. Well, of course, so with Grum Leather being from England over
I mean,
there.
and that's what I was thinking when I came in here. I looked at stuff. Broadway Magic has stuff from TCC and other English things. things being magic dealers.
Right.
So there's a lot of stuff. There's old stuff, posters, and Grum has the leather stuff. And who are these guys here?
That is SWC Magic.
Yeah, and
he was at Abbott's this year too.
Yeah, and he has a lot of great stuff too. So
Yeah,
all in all, for the money, and I think my wife was half price to come here. I mean, you can't beat it.
And it includes dinner.
Yeah, and it includes dinner the first
And a
night.
square dance and everything, and plus a free bar upstairs. And,
Yes, they give them free booze. They're trying to get us drunk.
a lot of fun.
Yes.
Marv, thanks very much. Always good chatting with you, buddy.
Oh, just a minute. I used to publish the Minotaur. I like to get that in every interview, okay? I don't mention Dan Harlan anymore, but...
Dan who?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So with the Magic Word Podcast, that was Marv Leventhal. Scotty out. Well, the show is over, and so is the convention, pretty much, and we have just had a wonderful time, and we'll check in a little bit later with Charles Bach to remind me the names of everybody who were the winners of. Or do you remember everybody, by the way, Eddie? Everybody?
I don't remember all the winners' names.
Okay.
We had three great winners out of the big contest this morning.
We did. And so I'll come back to that a little bit later, but they were actually announced as the last thing. We had a lot of great prizes that were given away, and also Paul Stone had given away some Siegfried and Roy memorabilia, including that gorgeous book that originally sold for like $650, and he was just giving that away in a free raffle. So anyhow, that was pretty exciting. But the evening show we had was emceed by Michael Paul, or Ziggy. Perhaps you've seen him on America's Got Talent. But before I go into all this, I got my friend Eddie Wade, who's also a magic dealer, with me now. Hey, Eddie.
Hello, how are you doing?
Fantastic. And you've been coming to this convention for a long time yourself, though, too. We talked last year at this.
That's right. We came to the first one that they did here with Charles Bach, and Dave Tanner and Roman Laprie put on 3 others many years ago down on the ocean, and I came to those as well.
So, as far as this evening's show, what did you think of the show overall? First of all, just a general impression before we get to the individual.
It was a great lineup of talent this evening that Charles brought in. I just roared at the comedian from New York. He didn't do the puppet. I wish he had done the puppet, but he had some great lines. And of course, ending the show with Dan Sperry. Dan just gets better and better every time I see him. I saw him when he was with the Illusionist. I think they restrained him a little bit, so he was all out tonight. And the razor blades, just perfection.
It was. It did a great show. Just brought the house down.
And then Charles opened the show with a new illusion that I had not seen. That the video walls with slicing the girl, making her disappear, and I won't spoil the ending for people that haven't seen
it. But it's also part of his regular show. I saw the full show earlier this week, and before the convention began.
It is fairly new. The only other person I know that's doing that is Greg Freeman, I believe.
I think Greg that is who I've seen do that before. I knew it wasn't the first time I'd seen it, but yeah, of course, he and Greg are good friends as well. Greg was here last year, as you
That's
recall.
right. Greg was here.
So we did have. Go ahead.
And the other talent that we had in the show this evening, unlike last night, the juggler was the hit. We didn't have a juggler tonight, and I'm trying to think through the other acts that were impressive to me and what I remember.
Well, we had of course Losander. Is always impressive, the master of levitation.
Yes, and I've seen him in many conventions many times. Always enjoy it. The bubbles were just amazing.
Yeah, he has command of the air. Basically, anything that is in the air, he can command.
Yes.
And then Greg Gleason, instead of doing illusions, did some close-up. That was pretty
impressive. I've never seen Greg do close-up before. He had a lecture earlier today. Never seen that. I've seen him do the illusion show. Impressive as well. But the thing that he did with those cards, that deck of cards, which I believe is also a product that he sells.
Yeah.
But being able to make the faces of famous celebrities out of the cards,
right,
and doing a card trick, you can't even explain that in a good sentence.
I can't. It's just he calls it modern art or something, and he uses the same deck of cards, and it's just to to know exactly how to put those things together to create the pictures he does is amazing.
He said he spent a lot of time during the pandemic thinking about that deck.
Obviously,
had
he
it
did.
specially made.
Yeah.
He's going to sell a bunch of those.
Yeah, well, it would take a lot of concentration, I think, to do the job properly also.
I don't think anybody else will be doing it as good as I saw him do it.
It was perfection, I agree. And then we had also Jafo, who was the other one that completed the
That's right.
group.
I'd seen Jafo work at Universal down in Orlando. Always impressive as well. This was a different act that I had not seen him do, but did a very good act.
Yeah, I saw him do this at the 4F convention, in which basically it's zone 0, but he's using pool balls with a pool cue at the ending that comes out of that hole. It's amazing, yeah.
Yep.
In close-up, when I saw him at the 4F, I wasn't more than just a few feet away and still looked fantastic.
Yeah, it is a fantastic.
Yeah.
It's a very good show overall, good talent. The whole convention. Yeah, this is like a little family down here. Most people know each other, and if they do it again, you should come.
You really should. As you're listening to this, if you missed it, you missed it. But you got to come back again next year. I know that Charles was worried about not necessarily being able to create the same atmosphere he did last year, but I was just talking with Marv Leventhal, who had said, I think it is equal or surpassed last year.
Yeah, Charles is going to run out of friends that want to come to Myrtle Beach after, at some point. I know he's traveled a lot and has a lot of magic friends. And
he does.
And he invites them down here to come do this. Otherwise, I don't think we could afford to do it for the registration that they do it for.
Yeah, which includes food and everything else.
All the giveaways. They gave us all the baseball caps, and they gave us all a goodie bag. They fed us on the first night with a party. Free drinks last night. I mean, alcohol drinks, not soda drinks.
That's right.
And then tonight, there's a closing party that is going on right now.
Well, we need to go up and find out what's going on.
Let's go have a drink.
All right. So with the Magic Word Podcast, that was Eddie Wade, Scotty out. Well, as I said, the party is over. We were talking with Eddie, and he was giving us we were talking about just kind of recap of this evening's show, which was fantastic. And it was opened by Charles Bach, since it's his theater. It's his party. He's one of the main organizers. Of course, there are so many other people who are behind the scenes doing all the stuff, pulling the strings. Like, we have to certainly thank Gerry Thompson and Dave Tanner for helping. It's been just great. But I've got with me now, we started the first day in talking with the organizer, and I've got Charles Bach with me now to kind of wrap things up. Hey there, Charles. Congratulations.
Thank you, Scott. It's been a pleasure. It's been a fun weekend and great people and just a great experience.
It has been. Hopefully it seems like you were enjoying yourself. I mean, certainly you were busy all the time. I mean, as Michael Paul was saying, he was the MC there tonight. He was saying you're doing everything. I mean, you're sweeping the stage, you're out there moving tables, you're checking the lights and the audio and everything then too, and the tickets. But beyond that, it looked like that you were enjoying yourself doing that kind of thing and engaging with everybody else and being always available and having fun. You did a great job on this show tonight.
Well, thank you, Scott. That is 100% true. I love each and every one of these people, so I want to make sure that they have the best experience coming to our theater as well.
Which will bring them back again.
Absolutely.
That's what it's all about. It's customer experience, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. And certainly it was all about that this weekend. I've talked with so many people saying this is great, and I think to a person, everybody said they want to come back again next year. And so hopefully next year, not only they will come back, but also perhaps those who are listening are saying, man, there must be some magic happening there. I need to go find out what's happening and come back then next year.
There's some great stuff happening, and we can't wait to have more people enjoy it with us.
So I know you saw it from inside out and backwards and forwards, and now that you it's in your rearview mirror, what is it that has been the most exciting for you so far? What was it that you did, or it's like you feel like, okay, this was something I really wanted to do and accomplish, and I got this done? So what do you feel like you actually was a big hurdle that you got over that worked great?
Well, putting together all this new things for the swag bag was kind of a challenge, but a lot of fun. We got really
coming together even the last day.
It really was, yes. Our surprise hats that came in the last moment were something that we really wanted to have, and customs and a hurricane almost kept them from getting here, but they made it.
Oh, was that what it was? Okay.
It really was. So we gave everybody a gold coin, and we could easily exchange that gold coin for some other gift, but we really wanted the hats, and now we
Yeah.
got them. And the only way to get them is to be at the convention.
Yeah, that was very cool. Again, the swag that you guys had was just unparalleled with all the stuff that was in there here this year. And as I said, that Gerry Thompson did a great job, and Jerry's here right now. Hey there, Jerry, come on over here. Come on over here.
mean to interrupt
No,
you guys.
I think you're an equal partner over here. So congratulations.
Thank you very much. It was a great year, wasn't it?
It was really good. And what did you enjoy the most? I mean, you guys got to see things from different sides, but what did you enjoy doing the most here, or seeing perhaps?
Yeah, good thing. I don't know. I really enjoy just connecting with everybody, but the lounge, the Carnival Lounge was really a fun point for me to hang out with everybody.
Well, that's because it was after everything's over and you're kind of unwinding, so that's
Good
one
point.
reason.
Yes, it is. Yeah, and there was alcohol involved, so yes. But yeah, it was wonderful up there hanging with everybody, and I just love the vibe up there. After everything's done, it kind of shifts gears when we all get together and get up there. It's like a gear shift.
Yeah.
It's not faster, but it's more conversational, and we really kind of get to break down the barriers, and that's where you really meet new friends, connect with old friends, and learn stuff.
I was just talking with Ari Phillips and Mona, who are over here from
yes.
England, and I know that they had gone to 4 different conventions while they were over here. They went then to the Magic Live, they were at Magic Texas, they went to the Magic Con, or whatever it was, that Dan Harlan had put on, and then this, and they said, the others are really good, but this just is the best, because of the intimacy of it, basically. So
Yes.
just thought I'd let you know.
It's like a little family now.
Yeah.
It's very kind of them.
Well, I think a lot of people felt that then as well, and all the guys, I'm sure, who were here performing would like to come back then again. I mean, every year.
Yeah, we were excited to have Steve Beam back again,
Yes.
Yeah.
just to enjoy the convention. He had so much fun last year.
That's exactly right. That's a good example right there, because you actually had him as a performer last year. It's like, I had such a good time. I'll come back just for the heck of it, just to enjoy myself. So he did. So.
And Carrie Pollack and John Chirac were both coming. John is working the castle this week, unfortunately, and Carrie has to work his club.
And couldn't get away then either. But after the show was over, by the way, one thing we don't want to forget, of course, is were the winners of the contest. And so, Jerry, we had actually first, second, and third place. And so, why don't you go in order, third, second, and first? Who got the third place?
Absolutely. Third place was with 119 points was Stonewick. Mm-hmm. Second place was at 125 points was Mr. VIP, which is actually Michael Barefoot. That's his alias. And then in first place
It was a very funny comedy act.
Yes.
It was a completely different character that he did, kind of like his Disco Stew,
Yes.
from The Simpsons.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody knows who that is.
I didn't know who he was on stage. And then he said, "What'd you think of my show?" And I said, "I didn't see you." And he said, I was
Mr. VIP.
Mr. VIP,
yes.
yeah.
And then this was really close, Scott. First place was only 1 point more at 126 points, and it was George Yance. Who
Which he kind of did a hippie
He
act.
did the hippie act. Yeah, he's very creative.
Yeah, he really is. Last
Yeah.
year, as I recall, he did a Shakespeare kind of a thing.
Exactly, and a good and bad. Yeah, it was really. I don't know what you call that in Shakespearean terms, but it was really, really, really creative.
Comedy and tragedy?
Well, that's true. Yes, it was. It's very simple. I'm tired, Scott.
That's okay. Okay. Well, I think it's important, again, that we kind of mention those guys. So congratulations to all the winners. Anyhow, I know you did a great job, and I appreciate it on behalf of all the registrants. Jerry, thank you. And you can tell David Tanner also thanks again. And Charles, great job.
Well, thank you so much, Scott, and we look forward to your listeners getting to join us next time.
We will see everybody here back in Myrtle Beach at Magic at the Beach. And that's a wrap, I think, from the beach. Sunny Beach in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Thank you very much. This is Scotty out.